Story recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a drama, horror, and romance film called Love Object. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. In Los Angeles, technical writer Kenneth Winslow gets up early and prepares to go to work. He then submits an instruction manual to his boss, Novak, saying he's ready for another assignment. So, Novak gives him materials for a user manual for a federal data entry program. Novak also informs him he only has 3 weeks to finish it, but Kenneth has no problem with that. Afterward, Novak introduces Kenneth to his new layout assistant, Lisa. Lisa is happy to help Kenneth, but Kenneth tells his boss in private that he prefers working alone. However, Novak believes Kenneth can't do his assignment on his own because the deadline's too tight, asking him to make Lisa do the grunt work. When he gets home, Kenneth hears a woman laughing outside while working on the manual. Then he sees the landlord, Radley, with an attractive lady in the hallway when he looks through the peephole. He also goes inside the closet and presses his ear against the wall, listening to the woman as she makes love to Radley. The next day, Kenneth finds a picture of a life-size silicone doll on his desk with a note that says, "All my love, Nikki." Kenneth's colleagues immediately notice him, and one of them, Dotson, says he'll introduce the woman to him. Kenneth thinks about finally having a girlfriend, but Dotson bursts his bubble when he says Nikki is plastic. Another employee, Jason, says he knew Kenneth wouldn't be able to tell that Nikki is a doll, and Dotson shows them the website where they can buy it. Moments later, Lisa asks Kenneth how she can help him, so Kenneth gives her a few pages to review, and Lisa is relieved that she won't be buried in too much work. She also asks him to show her how to use the word processor program, only to leave in the end when she realizes Kenneth feels uncomfortable talking to other people. That night, Kenneth goes to a shop where adult toys and magazines are sold. However, he becomes overwhelmed by what he sees, but he soon realizes he's just dreaming. Then, he quickly goes inside the office where he later sees Lisa trying to befriend other employees. After that, Novak scolds Kenneth for doing a poor job. Kenneth then rushes to work on the manual and finds Nikki's picture on his table. So in the evening, he orders a doll online while thinking about Lisa. Then, the following day, the bank calls Kenneth about his purchase, making sure he'll be able to fully pay the balance at the end of the month. Kenneth's order finally arrives, and his landlord wonders what's in the box. Kenneth then says it's a refrigerator, making the delivery guy smile. At the same time, Kenneth struggles to take the crate inside his apartment, so Radley takes some tools to open it and get it through the door. Then, a tenant, Martin, shows him his badge and tells him there's something weird about Radley, asking Kenneth to inform him if the landlord causes any trouble. Finally, Kenneth manages to take the crate inside, and he makes sure to close the door immediately. Once Kenneth opens the crate, he places Nikki on the bed and examines her body. It isn't long before he makes love to the doll. But after satisfying himself, he calls Modern Leisure Appliances, the company that manufactured Nikki. Kenneth says he's not satisfied with the product and intends to return it, but the company tells him he can't do that because the doll's already been used. He then finds Nikki's instruction manual and learns he's supposed to make the doll look like someone he wants, so he dresses it like Lisa. As days pass, Kenneth treats Nikki like a human being and even sleeps with the doll. He also goes to work in a good mood, only to learn that Novak let Lisa go for being behind in her work. However, Kenneth tells Novak he likes working with Lisa, and he immediately goes after the girl when he sees her. Kenneth tells Lisa he needs her, but she's too upset and says nobody likes her there because she's a temp. Lisa is also frustrated that she can't get anything to work, so Kenneth offers to show her a few things after hours to make things easier for her. Despite being reluctant, Lisa accepts Kenneth's help, and while working, she shares with him that she used to do desktop publishing. Lisa shows Kenneth a magazine where people can write anything about themselves, but she eventually throws it away and says they're embarrassing. Then, Lisa finally learns how to use the program, and she apologizes for having a meltdown earlier. After helping Lisa, Kenneth takes her magazine and reads it, but he quickly hides it when Novak approaches him to talk about Lisa, asking him what his intentions are. Novak also tells Kenneth to be careful, saying even a temp can sue their company for intimidation. On his way home, Kenneth buys some stuff for Nikki and ignores a customer with a mark on his face, just like the shop owner. At the same time, Radley hears Kenneth drilling in his room, unaware that the guy is using a winch to lift his doll. Upon doing that, Kenneth dances with Nikki and imagines he's dancing with Lisa. The next day, Kenneth sees Lisa's nail color and applies the same shade of nail polish to Nikki's nails. He also continues to help Lisa with work and makes Nikki look more like her, and at home, he eats and watches a movie with the doll. Then, Kenneth goes to bed with Nikki, telling the doll he's so glad they found each other. Once Kenneth and Lisa finish the first volume of the manual, Novak asks the attempt to join them full-time. Lisa can't help but hug and thank Kenneth, making him forget Nikki in the living room that night. However, Kenneth is surprised to see Nikki beside him when he wakes up, and he isn't sure why their hands are cuffed. At work, Kenneth gets a call from an anonymous person and wonders if it's Nikki. Of course, he realizes how ridiculous that is, so he just quickly goes to Novak's office when his boss calls him. Novak promotes Kenneth and says he's now the new editor, adding that he can work on the 2 other manual volumes in his new office. Kenneth is settling in his office when Lisa knocks on the door, so he quickly hides Nikki's picture. Lisa congratulates Kenneth on his promotion and asks him to come with her, saying she wants to buy new clothes since she's no longer a temp. Afterward, Kenneth takes her to the shop where he buys clothes for Nikki, but he also gets puzzled when he sees a mark on the saleswoman's back. Then, in the evening, Kenneth apologizes to Nikki for coming home late. The following day, Kenneth finds Nikki holding a knife and realizes that his bulletin board has been messed up. He then goes to work as usual and runs when he sees Nikki following him, but as it turns out, it's only Lisa. Flustered, Kenneth quickly enters his office where he receives another anonymous call. Meanwhile, Lisa notices that Kenneth looks stressed and follows him inside his office to ask if he's okay. Then, Lisa gives Kenneth the draft for Volume 2 and says she wants to finish it, adding that she wants to repay him for helping her with everything. That night, Kenneth gets emotional when he breaks up with Nikki, talking to the doll as if it's a resentful girlfriend. With tears in his eyes, Kenneth begs Nikki not to tell Lisa about them. He then calls Modern Leisure Appliances and complains that the doll is telling him to do horrible things, asking how to turn it off. However, the man Kenneth's talking to only gets confused, and their conversation ends when Kenneth returns to his room and kneels in front of Nikki. With cuffs on his hands and feet, Kenneth acts as if the doll dominates him. In the morning, Kenneth goes to the office, surprising Lisa since he's supposed to be relaxing that weekend. The two eat together in the lounge and talk about work, and Kenneth makes it clear he cares about Lisa. Unfortunately, later that night, Kenneth wakes up as Nikki tries to choke him. Because of that, Kenneth puts Nikki back in the crate and gets rid of the paper showing different ways to tie a knot. At work, Kenneth tells Novak that Lisa is ready to become a technical writer. He also informs his boss they're done with the 2nd volume of the manual, and Novak leaves him to continue with his work. Then, Kenneth gets worried when he sees Dotson and Jason talking to Lisa, so he asks her to have dinner with him that evening. After their date, Lisa invites Kenneth to her place and offers him something to drink. Kenneth then dances with Lisa, and it isn't long before they make out on the couch. Kenneth is surprised to discover that Lisa has a tongue ring and a tattoo on her chest, but that doesn't stop him from making love to her. At the same time, Kenneth notices that it's already midnight, and that's when he starts to panic and imagines Nikki on top of him. Frightened, Kenneth can't help but picture Nikki locking him inside the crate. Then, Lisa notices that something is wrong with Kenneth, leaving her embarrassed. When Kenneth gets home, he snaps at Nikki and tells the doll it's over between them. Kenneth is enraged that Nikki keeps following him around, so he beats the doll and shouts in frustration, unaware that Radley can hear him. Kenneth ties Nikki to the bed and drills a hole in the doll's tongue, intending to give his plaything a tongue ring. He also stabs Nikki in the chest as if he's drawing a tattoo, determined to make the doll look like Lisa. Then, Kenneth strangles Nikki, only to be disturbed when his phone rings. Radley is on the other line and wants to know if Kenneth is okay, but when the guy doesn't answer his call, he just gives up. Seconds later, Kenneth calms down and unties Nikki. Radley continues to listen to Kenneth's movements and wonders what the tenant is doing, but Kenneth realizes that and decides to play loud music. Then he starts cutting off Nikki's body parts in the bathtub, and once he's done, he takes them out in separate trash bags. Unfortunately, Radley witnesses everything through the peephole, but he isn't sure if he's just hallucinating because of the hookah he's using. After that, Kenneth throws away Nikki's body parts in the dumpster before quickly returning home. Later on, Kenneth visits Lisa and apologizes for what happened the other night. He then tells Lisa that Nikki, his ex-girlfriend, stalked and attacked him, saying it brought back memories while they were together. But Kenneth assures Lisa that Nikki is gone, and eventually, Kenneth makes love to her without thinking about the doll. In the office, Novak congratulates Kenneth and Lisa for doing an excellent job on the manual, but also tells them to get back to work. Then, Lisa finds Nikki's photo in one of the manuals and notices that the doll looks like her, accusing Kenneth of wanting her to look like his ex-girlfriend. Naturally, Lisa gets mad at Kenneth, but she soon realizes that Nikki is just a doll. Upset, Lisa tells Kenneth to stay away from her before leaving, so Kenneth tries to follow her. However, Novak stops Kenneth and asks him what's going on, and it isn't long before he informs the editor that he now has a demerit on his permanent record. Novak wants to protect the company from any intimidation claims, forcing him to tell Kenneth he'll be terminated if he goes near Lisa again. Despite that, Kenneth says he needs Lisa's help to finish the manual, but Novak only tells him to move on and find another girl. At home, Kenneth tries to order another doll, but learns he's already exceeded his credit limit. So he just looks for Nikki in the dumpster, only to be disappointed when he doesn't find the doll. Then, when he returns home, Kenneth ignores Radley as the landlord tells him he needs to pay his rent. As if things aren't bad enough, Kenneth receives a call from the bank informing him that his overdraft is now due. At the same time, Kenneth's work is starting to get affected, and as he listens to a voice message from Novak, he fails to notice the mark on his neck. Because of what happened, Lisa changes the way she dresses and avoids Kenneth. Meanwhile, Kenneth scratches his neck as he asks Novak for a bonus, but his boss refuses and says Lisa has been rewriting his work lately. Then, Novak fires Kenneth, so Kenneth forces Lisa to help him get his job back by talking to their supervisor. Sadly, Lisa only gets scared of her ex-boyfriend and tries to get something in her bag, but Kenneth stops her and covers her mouth. As they struggle, Lisa hits her head on the wall and loses consciousness, also getting her blouse ripped. Kenneth then sees that Lisa is bleeding and quickly picks her up when a guard comes out of the elevator, making sure the man won't see him. At the same time, Radley finds a picture of a life-size doll in a magazine and learns it's made by the Modern Leisure Appliances Company, realizing that Kenneth didn't buy a refrigerator. Seconds later, Radley hears Kenneth outside and looks through the peephole, seeing the tenant carrying something inside his apartment. Worried, Radley calls Martin and tells the detective he witnessed something suspicious, adding that he isn't sure if he saw a dead body or a doll. Unfortunately, Martin thinks Radley is just playing a prank on him and tells the landlord he'll bust him for making a false report. Concurrently, Lisa regains consciousness and sees her tongue ring on the table. At that moment, it dawns on Lisa that Kenneth is a dangerous man, but when she tries to escape, Kenneth quickly stops her. Kenneth then ties Lisa to a chair and gags her, and when the landlord knocks on the door, Kenneth turns off the light. Eventually, Radley uses a key to open Kenneth's door and quickly helps Lisa. However, Lisa's corset is still hooked to a cable, and when Kenneth shows up, he hits Radley with a hammer twice. Using the winch, Kenneth subdues Lisa before cuffing and gagging her again. Then, Kenneth answers the phone and acts as if he's talking to Nikki, asking the doll what he should do to make things right between them. Afterward, Kenneth drags Radley to the bathroom, playing loud music as he dismembers the landlord's body. The next day, Kenneth sedates Lisa and changes her clothes. He also tells Lisa later on about bone plastination, saying he knows how to preserve her body for Nikki. Unfortunately, Lisa's harness makes it hard for her to fight back, and Kenneth just casually talks to Nikki on the phone. While Kenneth is busy, Lisa struggles to email the guys files about bone plastination to their print shop. Pissed, Kenneth secures Lisa inside the crate, ignoring her as she tells him Nikki isn't real. Then, Kenneth closes the crate and prepares to leave the next day, and the mark on his neck only gets bigger. Kenneth also gathers some medical supplies, unaware that the print shop has received Lisa's email. Meanwhile, Dotson and Jason are hiding an incident photo in a file cabinet when Novak tells them to take some pointers from Lisa. Dotson then says Lisa already quit since they haven't seen her in a while, making Novak wonder where the manual came from. At home, Kenneth gets ready with the bone plastination, not realizing that Martin and his partner Ramirez have found Radley's body parts. Moments later, Martin calls Kenneth and informs him they've found Radley's dismembered body parts in the dumpster, telling him to be careful. After that, the detectives decide to check Radley's apartment, and at the same time, Lisa screams in pain as Kenneth extracts her blood. Kenneth also prepares to inject embalming fluid into Lisa's body, but Lisa manages to free her hand and scratches him. Wasting no time, Lisa unties herself and tries to escape, only to be stopped by Kenneth. So she grabs a small statue and repeatedly hits the guy. While in the print shop, Novak sees Lisa's email and realizes she's in danger. Once Kenneth stops moving, Lisa decides to lock him in the crate and avoids the needle he tries to stab her with. Then, Lisa takes the needle and tells Kenneth she'll make him suffer, but the detectives suddenly show up as she's about to kill him. Mistaking Lisa for the killer, Martin shoots her several times until she falls into the crate. Unfortunately, the detectives don't even suspect Kenneth, and it isn't long before he returns to work. Novak can't believe that Lisa held Kenneth captive, saying she always seemed like a nice girl. Then, Novak gives Kenneth his bonus, which he uses to buy another doll. Later on, Kenneth buys flowers for the new Nikki, and the cashier attracts his attention. Sad to say, Kenneth has found his next target, but the poor woman has no idea that her nightmare is about to start.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.